In 1990, the leader of Metallica wrote a song that was never meant to be heard. James Hetfield kept this masterpiece hidden from the public and the rest of the band under lock and key, because he knew it revealed a hidden side of himself that would make his fans hate him forever. Today, I'm going to tell you the story behind the song Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. I'm Guilherme, and you're watching Decifra Hits.
No, nothing else matters.
When Nothing Else Matters was released, fans didn't expect to hear these calm acoustic guitar chords from those known as the pioneers of thrash metal. But this change in the band's sound has an explanation, and it lies in a sigh of true anguish and courage from the lead singer, James Hetfield. For you to understand the difficult time the band was going through, we need to go back to 1988. At that time, Metallica was already established as one of the biggest names in heavy metal, having released albums like Kill 'Em All in '83, Ride the Lightning in '84, and the classic Master of Puppets in '86. But it was with their next album, And Justice for All from '88, that they finally crossed into the mainstream, with the single one which dominated the MTV charts for several weeks and also earned the band their first Grammy. That's when, with a completely packed schedule, Metallica embarked on an extensive and stressful tour, which even marked the band's first time here in Brazil. But it also ended up taking a heavy emotional toll on all the members. Even though they were living the typical rock star life with fame, success, and sold-out shows, dealing with long periods on the road, far from family and friends, was not easy at all. According to guitarist Kirk Hammett, drug use was something they ended up turning to. We discovered cocaine a few years earlier, but we took it to another level. On that tour, the feeling of loneliness only grew stronger, and one day, it hit James even harder. Finding himself alone in the emptiness of yet another hotel room, while talking on the phone with his girlfriend, James started playing the guitar in a casual way, not paying much attention. Without realizing what he was doing, suddenly he found himself playing a beautiful open-string picking pattern, which, although very simple, captured all the anguish that was inside him. That's how, unintentionally, the epic introduction to Nothing Else Matters was born. So close, no matter how far, it couldn't be more heartfelt. From then on, Hetfield kept completing the song's lyrics as he moved from one hotel room to the next. Throughout the tour, life on the road was taking its toll, but this new song was like therapy for him, and the most sincere way James found to express what was troubling him. He missed home, but this was the life he had chosen. He needed to trust himself.
Forever trusting who we are.
Forever trusting in who we are, and nothing else matters. Despite the message of confidence, James was actually deeply insecure, and he was ashamed of this song because it revealed his most vulnerable side, hidden behind that tough and closed-off look everyone knew. I don't know if you noticed, but this just reflects an old prejudice that has been dragging on for decades that men can't acknowledge. Some issues that are seen as vulnerable but are fundamental to being human, like self-care and self-love. But, luckily for us, that's changing. In Porto Alegre, for example, February 28th has already been officially declared as Self-Love Day. Back to the video, James kept working alone on that song and had no intention of showing it to his bandmates, let alone to the public. It was something I was doing after the shows when it was already dark and the crowd had left. The rest of the guys are going to laugh at this. Maybe it's not Metallica, maybe it's too vulnerable, said the singer in an interview with The Guardian. For James, writing such a sentimental song was a sign of weakness. But he couldn't hide the song from the band for long. One day, the drummer Lars Ulrich ended up hearing James strumming that beautiful melody and convinced him to show it to the rest of the band. And to his surprise, none of them judged him. After all, this song also drew a parallel with the lives of the other members. The stressful and never-ending tour had already ended the marriages of Lars, Kirk Hammett, the guitarist, and Jason Newsted, the bassist. So, kind of unintentionally, Nothing Else Matters also spoke directly to them. The guitarist said in an interview, "James always wanted to be seen as someone very confident and strong. And for him, writing lyrics like that, showing a sensitive side, took a lot of courage." And that's exactly what James confesses in the next verses. "I never opened up this way. Life is ours, we live it our way." These words are not just empty talk. However, from the moment they decided to work on the song, a major concern gripped not just James, but the whole band. Metallica knew they were going to get a lot of criticism because of this change in style, especially since this wouldn't be the first time. The guys had been called sellouts to the mainstream since their second album, which brought the band's first ballad, the sensational Fade to Black. Nothing else matters. It was an even further step away from thrash metal, which became a nightmare for their more conservative fans. But even knowing they would be criticized by fans and part of the media, they knew the feeling expressed in Nothing Else Matters was real, and that they weren't there just to sell records, so they were willing to face whatever it took. And this becomes very clear in the song's lyrics, especially when he says, "I never cared what they do, I never cared what they know, but I know I never cared what they say, I never cared about their games. And I know there was still something missing in Nothing Else Matters that would highlight the greatness of that masterpiece." That's when the producer Bob Rock decided to add an element that would take them even further away from thrash metal: an orchestra. For that, they invited the composer Michael Caine, known for conducting the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra, and the partnership worked out really well. So much so that on April 20, 1992, Nothing Else Matters was finally released as the third single from the album. The self-titled Metallica album, better known as the Black Album, the CD was a real phenomenon and made Metallica break out of the heavy metal niche, reaching the whole world. To this day, the multi-platinum Black Album is the best-selling metal album of all time. But while the album was a success, an undeniable success, its production became known for being quite difficult and expensive. Producer Bob Rock was extremely meticulous, and he made the band members record countless takes until they managed to achieve the perfect beat. It's worth remembering that at that time, nothing was retouched with the help of computers. Everything was recorded on tape, using analog recording. Because of that, they were stuck in the studio for 8 months, in the middle of various arguments, re-recordings, and remixes that ended up costing millions of dollars, making the Black Album one of the most expensive albums in history. In fact, in the music video for Nothing Else Matters, we can see the band making fun of the producer while he's sleeping in the studio, probably as a result of the exhausting production of the album. And unlike the music video for Other Side by Red Hot Chili Peppers, which we've also broken down here, the video for Nothing Else Matters doesn't hide as many symbols, but there are some interesting details that show up in the studio setting that you might not have noticed. Like the historic Gadsden flag, which features a coiled rattlesnake, with the words "Don't tread on me," meaning don't step on me, which by the way is the name of another track from the Black Album. This flag became a revolutionary symbol against British rule during the American Revolutionary War, exalting ideals like freedom and individualism, concepts that Metallica has embraced since the beginning of their career. In this other scene, we can see the original draft with the lyrics of "Nothing Else Matters," as well as several magazine clippings scattered around the recording studio. The problem is that the vast majority of them were from erotic magazines, which caused the music video to be banned from MTV's daytime schedule. Another famous magazine clipping is the photo of Kip Winger, which appears to be used as a dartboard for the band's amusement. This scene is widely seen as the reason the band's career was ruined, though it may sound exaggerated. Winger, one of the most famous bands of the 80s from the subgenre called glam rock. At that time, there was a lot of prejudice against groups of this style, and this scene just shows how much Metallica was annoyed by that. What about the music scene at that time? But Kip Winger said that after a while, James Hetfield called him to apologize for the bad joke, and that everything was fine between him and Metallica. In another scene, we see the guitarist Kirk greeting a former soldier who collects donations for disabled war veterans. This represents a strong criticism of the trivialization of war and its serious consequences. This is a theme that Metallica has always explored in their lyrics from the very beginning. In songs like No Remorse, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and Disposable Heroes. The fact is that Nothing Else Matters had a huge cultural impact, paving the way for metal to become even more established on the radio, bringing the genre to a new audience, who might never have been interested in the style. Sometimes because of pure prejudice or simply a lack of knowledge, and because of this prejudice, the world almost didn't get to know this masterpiece. Something similar happened with the song Black by Pearl Jam, which became a nightmare for the lead singer Eddie Vedder and almost made him leave the band. If you want to know more about this story, just click on this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.